Now the next thing to do on the plan is B1, which is the bottom floor. You're going to want to glue it to something thick. I would recommend either mat board. That's what you put around when you get a picture framed. It's the colored border they put around it. Or chipboard from the bottom of a notepad of some kind. This is from graph paper. I would not suggest that you use anything like corrugated cardboard because you're going to actually see the side edge of this floor when this thing is stacked together, and you don't want to see the corrugation. Foam core probably won't work very well either because you're going to see that foamy side to it. Now I found this the easiest way to glue the floor down. What I would do is I would take my plan, set it over a piece of mat board that's big enough to do it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take the point of a compass, and you can also use an X-Acto knife and kind of poke holes if you want. This doesn't have to be perfect, but what you want to do is you just want to punch a hole on the corners here and kind of plot where the edges are. I don't want to spread glue over this whole piece of paper and waste a lot of glue and make a huge mess. I only want to spread glue over the parts that we need. So once you poke all the holes in the corners here, we're just going to roughly connect the dots with a pencil, and you can use a ruler to connect them if you want, or you can kind of eyeball them. Like I said, it's not really critical that you connect the dots perfectly. Like on this side, I'm just going to say, yeah, that's about where that dot is. That connects to that dot, that connects there. Okay, and over here is pretty close. And that'll just give me the basic idea of where these planks are going to mount on the floor. Next, you want to lay your beams out on the plan. So I've got my cardboard piece with all my pieces on it here. Here's my plan. So I know we got a 3-inch piece that goes here, and we've got an 1.5 inch one that goes there, and an 1.5 inch one that goes there. And it looks like we've got a little square, and then we've got a 2-inch plank that's going to go right there, and another little square. So go ahead and lay out your whole floor this way, and cover all this with the pieces. Okay, now that we've got the pieces laid out on the plan, and I've got this plotted where my glue goes, I'm going to slowly work and put them down this way. I do want you to note that anytime you've got these tiny squares in here, be sure that the wood texture on them goes the same way as the rest of the planks, because it's easy to get the wood texture going this way because it's a square if you don't watch which way you're setting it. So let's do this. I'm not going to cover glue over the whole thing because by the time I get up here, the glue's going to be dry. So I'm going to start from the bottom and I'm going to work up, probably doing the bottom half. Oh, one other note, these are actually stones from the rubble block mold in here, mixed in with the wood. So just be aware that there are some stone pieces on the floor here as well as wood pieces. Okay, let's start with, I'm going to put a nice big bead of glue across the bottom here. And maybe I'll just go, you know, about 1/3 of the way up. I don't want to have too much glue going on here because what I want to do is glue between the sides of them. So I'm going to spread this glue up about to the line that I've got here. Let's spread this glue here. Okay, I've got all my glue spread at this point. If you go over the line a little, it's probably not going to hurt. It's just that you don't want to muck up our little Lego square here. And also it's a good idea to have a paper towel handy to kind of, you know, wipe your hands off when you get done. So I'm going to start on the edge, and I like to put the bead of glue on the side and then lay it down. So I'm putting the bead of glue on this side and on the tops. So let's just do that. I'm going to put a bead of glue on the side here, and I'm going to lay that one down about there on the plan. And this one, I'm going to put a bead of glue across the top, and then I'm just going to drop it there, and I'm just going to put a bead of glue across the top, and we're going to work our way all the way across the bottom here. Oops, I missed doing that edge, didn't I? You want to be sure that these planks are glued kind of on all sides here. Now once you've got a couple rows, you want to take this square here and you want to kind of push it up there, because you don't want things to get too dry or you're not going to be able to shove them around at all. So use that and go ahead and start. And you'll also notice that this cardboard is starting to hump this way just a little bit. Okay, now that I've got this far, be sure, you know, put your corner of Legos or square or whatever you got up against there. Push everything down nice. Make sure everything kind of lines up nice and square the way it should line up. And then It's a good thing I only went up that far because this glue is starting to dry down here. So now at this point you see we've got this little square area left up here to do. You want to be sure that this is in the right spot. So you know that this is 2.5 inches over. What you can do is just take some planks and turn them upside down, a couple of 2.5 inch planks, and we'll sort of use that as a guide to know that we're that far in. And then we'll go ahead and spread glue, and we'll go ahead and transfer these over here and make sure everything lines up square. Okay, now it's all glued into place. These are just, that's our completed floor. I just shoved those in there so that we can kind of make sure that this all kind of squeezes together nice and square. Now the last thing you want to do while this is drying, in order to get it to dry straight, I would put a good heavy book on top of it, or a stack of good heavy books, and leave it overnight. Let it completely dry overnight flat, and the floor will stay pretty flat throughout the painting process. Okay, to finish up the B1 floor before painting, we need to go ahead and trim it out. I've got my cutting board and I've just got an X-Acto knife, and to me the easiest way to do it is just to go along the side. And you want to go right against it. So probably about 3 or 4 cuts is enough to actually get that to come loose. And you see that that's pretty much loose on that side right there. And so we'll turn it and we'll just continue all around until we get the floor completely cut out of the mat board. Okay, now I'm going to attempt something on our floors. I noticed after our floors had dried, and they were left overnight to dry with heavy books on top of them to keep them flat. Even with that, there is a little bit of warping that happened on this. If you look down the side this way, where the planks are going straight in this direction, warping really doesn't happen too much. You know, if you look down the side, it looks like that's pretty straight. However, when you're going, the planks are going this way, if you look down the side this way, let's see if I can turn this right. There is a little bit of a warping there. I don't know if you can kind of see that. Let's check the other end. We'll flip it around here. Maybe it's a little easier to see that way. Yeah, you can see there's a little bit of warpage to that. In other words, if I laid this down, face down on the table, this thing kind of rocks just a little bit. And, you know, for our side walls, walls going this way, it's not going to be a matter. But when I try to set a wall onto this side, this wall is going to kind of rock just a little bit and cause me a little bit of a trouble. What I've done is I've got this big pile of books here, and I put those on top of the floor sections because they had warped on me. So basically what happened, I take these 2 floor sections, I put one down like this, face up, I put the other one face down on top of it, and laid a heavy book on top of them. Now at first I was worried, because with spray paint, I was hoping that the spray paint wouldn't stick face to face. These have been spray painted and they've you know, dried for several hours, so they were completely dry. But I was afraid the paint would stick together, but it didn't. And they're just spray painted black, and these things actually really lined up nice and straight. I mean, they're like straight as an arrow now. So I think these are going to work out just fine. It's possible that I really didn't need the mat board on the back. I mean, imagine what would happen if I'd have just taken this floor, laid the planks out, and glued the planks edge to edge. Chances are it would have held up just fine because we've got a good 1/4 inch of space for these planks all to glue together. So, when you're doing yours, feel free to just glue the planks edge to edge and then let it dry like that. And I really don't think you're going to have any problem with the floors warping like I did.